Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, High Country Art. Today we are going to be doing line blend tests. I absolutely love line blend tests. Greg Daly is the person who taught me how to do them. He has a book called Developing Glazes, and it is one of the most handy things you could possibly have on hand to learn how to mix glazes. So my line blend test today is going to be with granite that I have collected from the Sunshine Coast, ball milled into a superfine powder after calcining it, and Ravenscrag, which comes from Plainsman Clays here in southern Alberta, and I use that as my liner glaze in all of my pottery. It's the only one that ever held up to salt firing, but basically it itself is the perfect glaze material in high temperature firing. So grab out your little scale. I love using my scale. I've lined out all of my cups. I like to do that, it just makes it a little bit easier, especially when I get into doing triaxial blends and quadraxial blends. Line blends are one of the easiest ones to do because you have two ingredients. And so on either end, on Ravenscrag right now, I'm putting 100% Ravenscrag, and I'm doing them in 10-gram batches just because I don't have a ton of the granite, and I just kind of want to see what happens when you do the different additives, and then 100% of granite there on the left hand side. Zeroing out the scale, putting 10 grams in there. And especially since you're doing such a small batch, you want to be really accurate. So I've got a scale that does like 0.0. In 0.00 would be ideal, and then so I label all the cups on the table. So you see there, it's going to be 90% granite, 1% Ravenscrag. Next is 8 to 2, 7 to 3. We've got a 6 to 4. Here in the middle, we've got a 5 to 5 ratio, so 50-50. Then we go to a 4 to 6, and then we do a 3 to 7. A 2 to 8, and then as you can see I accidentally put one less cup out here. I'm going to add the extra cup, and then that last one will be a 1 to 9, so it'll be 1% granite to 9% of the Ravenscrag. Line blends are a super easy way to get into all of this, especially if you have your previously made glazes. You can do the same thing from glaze to glaze, just doing different percentages as well. And then you can get a new glaze from what you have already in your studio without having to make a new one. So we're going to go straight on from here to mixing everything together. I like to do all of one ingredient and then all of the next. It just makes it easier. You get less confused, especially once you start getting into even more complicated blends of glaze materials. So I'm putting all the granite into all of the little cups. Once I have all of those done, I'm going to go back in and do the Ravenscrag. Then we are going to be adding water. I like to just do a splash of water to rehydrate, and then if I need to add a little bit more, I will. For the Ravenscrag, when I'm using it just as a glaze, I do 50% water, 50% Ravenscrag, so 100 grams water, 100 grams powder. So that's generally what I would like to do with that anyways. And then, I mean, when you're doing this, so mix it all up. They might be a little bit thinner, but with the nice thing about doing small batches and putting it on all of the little pieces of clay, you can just keep adding layers. And if you want to, you can sieve your glazes. I personally hate sieving my glazes, and if I can avoid it, I will make a glaze that I don't have to sieve as long as I take a emulsion blender, and usually that's how I mix some of my glazes. And then you want to make sure that you want to write down what you're testing, because if you don't write it down, it's pointless. So I've got there on the left, I've got a G for Granite, R for Ravenscrag, and then I put LB, so I know that it's a line blend, and I know what a line blend is, so I'm going to know that it's going from one end to the other. And then I can just count based on what those are. I don't have to write those all down. I make an ink for my screen printing, so I just liquid it out and use that. You can also use a underglaze pencil. It makes it really easy to write a lot of things down with that if you wanted to add more details. And so right here, I've got 3 different high temperature clays that I want to test on. So on the left, I have H435, and that's a Plainsman clay. Middle is H440, which is what I exclusively use right now. And then on the right is H443. And then, so I'll do these and I'll do multiple. So I'm going to do 6 of them all in total and double up so that I can put them in 2 different kilns and different spots in my kiln to see what's happening. And then if I find a glaze that I particularly like on a lighter clay body, I might end up using that later on. But the fact is, if you're mixing it all up, you want to make as many test tiles as possible to put in as many different kilns. So if you do salt, soda, reduction, oxidation, you want to try all of them, because if you're mixing it up, nothing more of a pain in the ass, especially what Greg Daly told me is doing it more than once. If you've already done it, just make sure you make a bunch. And so basically the Ravenscrag and the Granite themselves, the Granite, I know, and I have made a glaze just with Granite itself. With the feldspars and all the melting agents and everything that's in Granite, it makes a glaze. It came out a really dark brown, almost black, speckly, oily spot type glaze. And then the Ravenscrag comes out like a cloudy blue color. But I'm hoping that the Ravenscrag will just balance out the Granite and make it so that it stays a little bit more of a stable glaze. Not that it's not stable, it just kind of settles, and I wanted to just have a glaze that doesn't settle quite as hard in there. You can add additives to make it not settle as much, but this is what I am planning to do. I just want to have it. I have the material in my studio all the time, the Ravenscrag, so why not try it out? And if you really like this line blend, I can also give some examples of other blends that I like to do. So I also did for this a blend with like a quadraxial blend. So that's 4 different ingredients. I used Granite, Frit 3110, silica, and then OM4, which is just a clay. And I can show you the examples for that once they come out of the kiln. I'm hoping to fire my kiln next week, so I will be able to show you all the results. So follow along if you want to see more. I can show you how to do triaxial line blends and quadraxial line blends. I absolutely love doing them. And then from there you move to colorants if you wanted to add colorants. But thanks for following along. Love to have you. See you for the next video.